Ghost Mule. Welcome back to Everyday Backpacker, my channel where I basically share with you my obsession with the hobby of backpacking. So after the last video where Hot Pants and I decided to make some dehydrated jambalaya, which turned out really great, our other hiking buddy, Phantom, he decided to present me with another food-based challenge. So for this challenge, Phantom wanted to see what it would be like to take one type of meal, in this case beef stroganoff, and prepare it in 3 different trail-tested ways, and then compare the 3 on a series of points that we'll talk about later. So we're going to test out the beef stroganoff with noodles by Mountain House, a Knorr side stroganoff meal, and Jay's own homemade dehydrated stroganoff concoction. But before we get into the challenge, I want to give a little bit of a background to Phantom because as he lives up to his trail name, he is a little bit of a fan of the channel. Hasn't been on one of these kinds of videos yet. Been on lots of trail videos. So Phantom is my friend from work, and he has some pretty impressive backcountry chops. What year did you hike the AT?
2014.
So in 2014, he started the Appalachian Trail and finished it, the entire length of it. He started the Appalachian Trail the day after he ran the Boston Marathon, which in itself is pretty darn hardcore. And then in 2016, he decided he needed to do another through hike the entire length of the PCT. So if I think I have a lot of experience in the backcountry, mine pales in comparison. Anything else you want to add?
That's enough. How do you tell if somebody's hiked the Appalachian Trail?
I don't know. How do you tell?
You don't have to tell. They tell you within 5 seconds of meeting them.
That's probably pretty true. All right, so in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to prepare the 3 meals, and we're going to judge them based on several different categories that Jay's come up with. The first one is going to be taste. Second one, convenience. Cook time on trail, prep time off trail, the costs, nutrition, pack weight, waste generated, availability on trail, in this case for a through hike, and the overall appearance. There's probably a reason why they want you to prepare this in the bag. So, let's get started. Which meal do you want to do first?
Let's do this one.
The beef stroganoff by Mountain House? All right, let's do it. So, preparation for this particular meal is pretty easy. Tear open the bag, add 1 2/3 cup boiling water, stir carefully, and close zipper. Wait 5 minutes, stir again and reseal. Let stand an additional 4 minutes, stir, enjoy right out of the pouch. Although we will not be eating it out of the pouch because that wouldn't.
We want to see what it looks like.
That's right, we want to see what it looks like. Maybe the last time we ever want to see what it looks like, but we're going to take a look at it. So we're going to go ahead and boil up some water, and then we're going to get this ready here. So, all right, so in true form of this being a pretty low-key, low-budget operation on YouTube, we forgot to measure it first. So we put everything back into the bag here, and we're going to go ahead and measure to see how much the package weighs. And right now we're at 148 grams. For all of you people who prefer ounces, that would be 5.2 ounces.
What's your favorite on-trail meal?
My favorite on-trail meal? My favorite on-trail meal for the longest time was the Mountain House sweet and sour pork, but they stopped making it. Right now, I think one of my favorites, well, the one that I made is the jambalaya. It was really good, but Hatch Green Chili Mac and Cheese by Backpacker Pantry is really good, but I think the hands down the best one I've ever had is the pad thai. How about you?
There was one magical moment that 2 or 3 wilderness rangers happened to be together, and we combined what we had in our packs, and we had tostadas with dried refried beans.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
We had actually avocado. I think we might even had a tomato, and it was amazing.
That sounds fantastic. There was actually, now that I think about it, there was another time that Anthony and I, he made burritos. He actually, so we used one of the chicken and rice meals from Mountain House, and then added some fresh onions, fresh tomatoes, some cheese, and put them on tortillas and had like, I guess it would be trail tacos instead of street tacos, but
Yeah.
that was really good.
Yeah, sometimes magical things happen and you have the right ingredients and it's really good.
One thing you probably won't know from our videos is that Jay and I have very different philosophies on meals in the backcountry. I am very lazy and I prefer the dehydrated meals. One, because I work at a shop and I can get them for very cheap. And I don't like to do dishes, and so that's easier for me. And Jay, on the other hand...
I find freeze-dried food very expensive. This is coming from a through hiking perspective to sustain over time. It hit $10 for a meal in over 6 months. That's a huge
It's a lot of
chunk
chicken
out of your
change.
It's like, so I tend to convenience store shop, and sadly it ends up being a lot of sugar, but and not nearly as nutritious. Very short in protein.
Yeah. That's one of the coolest things about being friends with Jay and experiencing the trail with Jay is we get a lot of really different ways of doing things, and it kind of works out. So, you know, he's got more of a through hiker mindset, whereas mine is more of I guess weekend adventure mindset. Although I think more and more it's kind of melding. I think. All right, we're coming up on 5 minutes, so we're going to give it a quick stir here. All right, 4 minutes is up, which means overall the total prep time for this was about 10 minutes. We're going to go ahead and put this into, actually, you know what? Let's just leave it in the pouch. It'll stay warmer.
Yeah, let's do that.
And we're going to make sure we keep all the waste, see how much waste is there. What meal do you want to do next?
Let's do the grocery store variety.
All right, sounds good. The Knorr side. All right, so for the Knorr side, we're going to prepare this the way Jay usually prepares on the trail.
And I try to soak it in cold water. I try to soak it as long as I can, just to save on fuel. So I put it in the water before the water's boiled. If it's not necessarily enough water, I can always add a little water to it later.
All right. Already I can tell it's going to have considerably less weight because the packaging for this is smaller than the package for the Mountain House.
And I always repackage those too.
That's true. Yep, that is another
Yeah.
good option there.
Mainly because these are reusable. You can use them for garbage, and you can use them for other things.
Did you repackage most of your meals when you were on the long trails? All of them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I had all my bags, and you'd go to the grocery store and rip them all out and throw everything away.
Sitting on a picnic table in some random location, pouring food into bags.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so we're getting close to this one being finished, and right now we're just about 5 minutes in. Now, one thing that's important to mention is we are preparing this as though we would prepare on the trail, because the actual meal calls for milk and some other stuff, which we did not do. We just did the water. I guess if you wanted it to be a little bit creamier, you could add some powdered milk or something to it, but we're coming up, and it looks like we're all set here. So, yeah, 4 minutes, 44 seconds.
And it's pretty, by the time it sits for a while and cools down, the noodles will soften up a little bit more.
Awesome.
I just turn it off to save fuel.
Okay, we'll go ahead and put this into a bowl, and that's all set. Of course, the immediate thing you'll notice is there are dishes involved, unlike with the Mountain House, which is sitting in its pouch. But unless you're super lazy like I am, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And now we will move on to the third and final meal, the homemade dehydrated stroganoff. All right, last but not least is the meal that Phantom actually made, and I'll let him explain to you how he made it.
So first of all, I dehydrated mushrooms, onions, and hamburger. Those are the only things I dehydrated. Bought some store-bought noodles, powdered sour cream, onion salt, garlic salt, beef bouillon, and some stroganoff flavoring. And that's pretty much it. So I dehydrated the materials and then put it together after it was dehydrated, rather than making it and then dehydrating it.
And also use the dehydration feature of the air fryer to actually dehydrate it. So, and just to reiterate and show the ingredients a little bit better, again, you use some powdered sour cream, which I didn't even know existed, beef bouillon, garlic powder, onion powder, beef stroganoff seasoning packet, and some butter buds. And then
The noodles.
yeah, the noodles. So now we're going to.
I'm going to put in some water.
I think your burner's on. I smell gas. And while the water is heating, we'll go ahead and dump all of the ingredients in. And I will start the timer here. We'll let Trail Gourmet Extraordinaire Phantom do the cooking here.
I'm anxious to see how this turns out.
I am too. I think it's going to be awesome. All right, so meal prep on the handmade stuff is done, and we clocked in right at 7 minutes. 13 seconds, but I also have to count that I talked to her about that long, so we'll just call it 7 minutes to be on the safe side. And all right, we're all set and ready to go. Next part is the most favorite part. It's going to be the taste test. All right, so now that preparation is over with, we're going to start doing our evaluation. So the first meal we're going to talk about is the Mountain House. So we're going to run through, and in the end, we'll do taste. Sorry, didn't tell you that ahead of time. So first off, let's score it for convenience. Overall, I would say the convenience on this one's pretty high.
Yeah, Mountain House is number one.
Yeah, easy to make. No cleanup afterwards. You just toss the envelope. So on a scale, we're doing the scale 1 to 3.
3.
All right, so 3 for convenience. All right, cook time on this one was about 10 minutes, which ultimately ends up being a pretty long time, all things considered. So cook time was 10 minutes. The prep time on this was 0. Coming in at low marks, though, for cost, it is easily the most expensive one at $10 per meal. So we'll give that one a 1 for cost.
Great for weekend backpacking, day trips, overnighters, but for 6 months at a time.
So at 10 minutes, we'll give that one a 1 for the cook time. And prep time would be 3 because there's none.
Yeah.
All right. Nutrition, overall, I would say is pretty high on this. I would give that one a 3. Pack weight, we screwed up because we didn't weigh the other 2 meals, but I think they're all pretty much the same. They're all fairly lightweight, so I am going to go ahead and give 3s across the board for those because I think that they're all pretty lightweight. But the one that we did measure was, in fact, the Mountain House, and it weighed in at 5.2 ounces or 148 grams. Waste. There is some waste involved with the Mountain House. It does have the envelope with the lid and the absorbent package. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one a 2. You agree with that?
I'd give it a 1.
A 1? Okay.
As far as on-trail waste.
That's true. It is on-trail waste. So, yeah,
So,
it is pretty
yeah.
pretty low on that one. Availability on trail. You're going to speak more to this than I can.
You know, it's becoming more and more available. It's at strange places like Walmart and a few places like that. The player you can't get it is when you're resupplying at a convenience store or something like that. So I'd give it a 2, 2.5.
Let's go with a 2. I like it. And appearance, actually
It
not
doesn't look
bad.
It really doesn't.
You know, if I was on the other thing too, we have to add a caveat with the taste on this thing is everything tastes better on
All
the trail.
three of these on trail would be great.
But overall, I would say pretty high marks. I'd give it a 3, really. I mean, it looks like something I would make at home.
2.
2? Let's go with 2.5 then.
2.5.
All right. And now for the taste. Not bad. Well absorbed, not crunchy.
It's a little generic though.
It is a little on the bland side.
Yeah.
But I think that is going to be where it's going to kind of lose a little bit. When I eat it on the trail in about 10 seconds, oh yeah.
I'd scarf it now.
But it is a little on the bland side. I'm saying 2. Okay. Which one do we want to do next? Cleanse the palate?
Let's do the side, the grocery
Knorr?
store.
All right. So the Knorr side. This one, again, for convenience, I would say it's pretty high marks.
Yeah, it's
you're
super
just
convenient.
throwing it in there and dehydrating or rehydrating it. Cook time on this was about half of the cook time for the Mountain House, so we gave that one a 1. I would say this one was 3. It was 5 minutes. It's pretty quick.
It's easy, and you can reduce your cook time by soaking it, cold soaking it, and
Sure.
stuff like that,
Good point.
or use less fuel.
All right, and prep time again was 0, so we're going to give that one high marks of 3. Cost on this one, that meal costs how much?
$1.
$1. So can't argue with that. It is by far the lowest cost. Trail budget friendly. There is a reason why it is a very popular meal with through hiking community. All right, nutrition.
Comparable, really, to the Mountain House. Little fewer calories. Not too bad on protein either. I'd say, what did we give Mountain House?
We gave it a 3.
2.5.
2.5. Okay, I like that. I'll go with that. And waste, again, almost none. So
one thing that I like to do is always, these things are pretty easy to become litter, so I always put them inside the baggage and kind of fold it up before you put it in your garbage sack.
Right. So, yeah, I would say 3 on the waist.
Yeah.
All right. And availability on trail.
You can get them almost anywhere. If not stroganoff, some kind of pasta side,
Okay.
chicken flavored or whatever. But
So definitely a 3 on that one.
you can get them at convenience stores.
Okay. And what do you think on the appearance?
Actually, it's got a little bit of dried parsley flakes in it that really adds to it.
It's got nice color. It's definitely got some color
It
to it.
doesn't look bad.
Yeah, no, I would attempt to say it looks, about as good as about the same as the Mountain House. So again, 2.5. Let's give it a little bit of a taste.
Definitely saltier than the Mountain House.
Very much, definitely salty. Not bad. Noodles are a little bit tougher.
Well, I might cheat a little bit on cooking time there.
Again, it was definitely well enough done for trail purposes. I'd give it about a 2.
It's not bad.
It's actually pretty tasty. I mean, for as low cost as that is, it's not that much different in taste to me than the Mountain House.
I'd say the difference is in the saltiness.
Yeah,
more than
definitely.
anything.
A little bit more of a, not quite as bland. All right.
I'm kind of impressed with that. It's like,
No, I would totally eat that on trail, 100%. I'd almost be tempted to eat that over the Mountain House. Now, of course, with this, there are going to be some dishes involved. So,
Yes.
but again, small, minor thing to go with. Last but not least, the homemade.
We'll see.
So convenience on this one, I would say obviously there's going to be a strike for home preparation.
On trail convenience is comparable.
Yeah, exactly.
But off trail, you have to have time in the wintertime. You have to have downtime when you're not. It takes time.
So, I would say maybe 1.5.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty big ding. Because
it's a little more labor intensive off trail.
Right, exactly. And the prep time on this one is about an hour or so for actual prep, and then 6 hours for dehydration.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to have some preparing, and also the shelf life is going to be a little bit less.
Yeah.
Not considerable, but so we skipped the cook time on trail, and the cook time on trail for this one was 7 minutes. So I would say that one would be about 2, because it didn't take as long as the Mountain House, but it definitely took longer than the Knorr side did. And the prep time, again, pretty considerable, so we're going to go 1 on that. The cost on this one is pretty comparable to the Mountain House.
I'd say maybe a little cheaper than Mountain House, but I don't think you're going to save a ton of money by dehydrating your own.
All right.
Just because of the ingredients and everything.
So we get with about $8 figure on that one. I would.
Oh, go ahead.
I would put that one as a 2.
But one thing we haven't considered is if you have dietitian requirements.
That's true.
You are very flexible with what if you could go with gluten-free noodles or vegan or whatever you wanted to do with it.
Absolutely, is by far the most flexible in that, because you are preparing it, not somebody else. All right, nutrition?
I'm just guessing, but I'd say it's comparable to the other 3, if not a little higher. I don't know what dehydrating does to the nutrition of the...
So dehydration does take a little bit away from it that freeze-dried doesn't, but it's a very minimal amount. And I think for the purposes of this, it's kind of a nil thing.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a little bit of nutrition loss, but overall, I would say it's probably still pretty nutritious. I mean, the ingredients are all natural, and it's got a good variety of vegetables and meats and stuff. So I would say overall, it's probably pretty high. The pack weight, again, is comparable to the other 2. Waste on this one, trail waste is actually pretty minimal. It's just going to be 1 Ziploc bag.
And it can be reusable.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and score that one high as well, because it does have the least amount, and again, you can reuse them. Availability on trail. This one you're going to have to send it to yourself.
You have to get to a post office. You have to mail it to yourself.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I've been very jealous of people that got packages with really good dehydrated meals, but you have to get there on a weekday when the post office is open. You have to mail them to them. You have to. There's a lot of complications.
So there's going to be a lot of issues there. So we're going to have to go with 1 on availability on trail. I think. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And then last but not least, appearance. And man, this looks like
it looks really good
really
compared
good.
to the other 2.
I would say hands down, it is by far the most appetizing looking. So definitely high marks on
really
that
good.
one. I must have skipped something here.
We haven't tasted it yet.
Oh yes, the taste. That's the last one.
The one I've been waiting for.
Yes.
Like the one that I'm nervous about.
One.
Oh
All right.
my goodness, there's no comparison.
Wow, that is really good. Like Connor said with the jambalaya, I've had worse meals at restaurants. Talking with my mouth full. That is really good. There's no comparison. It's kind of salty.
I was going to say, it's a little on the salty side.
But not overly salty.
A little too much garlic powder, onion powder, bouillon, all those flavorings.
But you didn't use a recipe. You
I just
threw stuff together, so you can very easily dial that in. I'm solid 3 on that one. No
Oh, it's
question.
by far the best tasting. And the mushrooms and the hamburger, you know.
All right.
Well, it is very salty though.
Where in the hell is that video? Ah, Well, unfortunately, it looks like somehow I managed to not film the end of that video. So, I guess I could have gotten together with Phantom to do a little bit more. However, Phantom is currently on his way to Southern California. So, I'm left alone. But I wanted to give a quick recap of the results of the tally, if you will. So, obviously, the highest number of points was 30. There were 10 categories, up to 3 points each, so the high tops out at 30 points. The Mountain House ended up getting a score of 21.5. It lost some of its points, definitely for price, but it definitely gained points for convenience. So we kind of decided that the Mountain House was what we would call the lazy man's dream. There's no dishes, there's no prep work. You just go in, you buy the bag, you pour the water, you eat your meal. The homemade one ended up coming in at 22.5 points. This one by far was the tastiest and probably the most nutritious, but it definitely lost a lot of points in standing for being a pretty involved process. That being said, it's actually kind of an enjoyable process and one that I definitely recommend that if you have the time and interest and the means to do it, give it a shot. It's really not that hard, and you might be surprised by the results. So this one we call the Taste for Days. Now, the winner of this was also the one that we did not expect to be the winner, but by far the Knorr side meal came in at a whopping 28 points out of 30. So obviously this one got a lot of really high marks for convenience, as well as high marks for cost for being only $1. And it was surprisingly tasty and looked pretty decent. So overall, it was just a super easy, super tasty meal. But you will have some dishes. Overall, this was a lot of fun. I kind of enjoyed it, and I thank Phantom for coming up with the idea to do this little video. Is there any other video competitions you want to see us do? Let me know in the comments below. And keep enjoying those trail meals and keep hiking on.